So today what we're going to do, folks, we're going to go over the Kiser Arena Specialist 1,010-gallon water wagon, operational functions and features. So the first thing we want to do anytime we're ever hooking up our trailer and getting ready to start this, we want to go over the engine. So first thing first, there's two things to really check is our engine oil level and our fuel. Make sure they're both tapped off. All the engines that we put on our trailers are going to have an oil engine alert. So anytime it is too low, your engine will not start or run. So first thing, we want to go over that. There's two dipsticks on either side and we want to check, pull those out. If they're up to level, then we're good. So on this water wagon, what we have here, this one is actually set up with our electrically controlled valves. So the greatest feature and function of this one is actually that it's completely wireless. Wonderful thing is there's nothing to hook up power to a truck, trailer, whatever you have. It's all self-contained with your engine and then your battery supplied to your valve. There's nothing to hook up, no different wires to carry. It's all self-contained. So first thing to go over, really what we want to look at is make sure we have power. It's 12 volt supplied to the valve. Even a deep cycle battery, a small lawn and garden tractor battery, something sufficient is going to carry a 12 volt system. So the first thing to go over what we want to look at is the operation of this valve and how it works and how to operate it. So first thing we want to look at is obviously from the bottom of the tank, we're going to be drawing from the bottom of this tank. It is a completely drainable tank, so all the wagons from 1,000 up to the 2,000 gallon trailer, they're 100% drainable. So on these trailers, what the feature is, we're going to be pulling from the bottom, so we're going to be able to completely drain that system out, which in turn is going to serve two functions. It's we're going to be able to get all the water out of that system, and in the wintertime when we do need to, we can drain that water system out and completely get the water out of there so we don't have any freezing problems. So from there, what we're going to have is we're going to be drawing from the bottom of the tank into the suction side of the pump. And then from there, what we're going to be doing is off the discharge side of the pump, we've got three different ways the water can actually go out. So off your return, what's going to do is when that valve is shut off, the water is actually going to be running back to the tank, which is why we want to have the valve handle down and leave that completely open. There's no need to restrict that flow, so we want to keep that valve handle down. And then when you actually turn the valve on, what that's going to do, it's going to switch the valve inside, and we're going to run that back to the 2-inch line that'll run to our discharge, which will go back over here a little bit later. If your trailer is set up to have the hose reel stand with our 1-inch hose and supply, what we can do is run that at the same time. So from there, what we want to do is actually shut off our back valve, which will go over here like a little bit, like I said, leave our return, like I just said it a little bit ago as well. And from there, you can operate the function of that with either adjusting the hand nozzle for the flow or off the engine RPM as well. So now what I want to go over is actually how to operate the wireless control valve. So first thing first, obviously we make sure we have 12 volt supply of power in the battery box, which is always going to be supplied on each one of the Kiser trailers. From there, put your battery in there. We're going to have alligator clamps that are going to go directly to the posts. Obviously positive, positive, negative, negative. There is a kill switch that's on the wiring, so make sure that's in the on position. When you're not in use of the trailer, make sure to turn that off unless you're going to disconnect the battery or you will drain your battery down. From there, what you're going to have is actually just a little wireless remote that we can turn the features of the trailer on and off. What that's going to allow us to do is either A, the one function is to run the actual rear discharge nozzle, or B, actually to run our 50 foot of 1-inch supplied hose with our adjustable nozzle. So what I really want to go through real quick is actually how to operate that, which is very simple. Is you can either turn that on the on position, so it's a 1 second valve. So once you hit the on button, it's 1 second to turn it on and 1 second to turn it off. It's fully 2-inch valving, so we're going to gain the full supply of that pump if you want to run it at 100%. In the on position, what you're going to have is your 2-inch line that's actually coming off the discharge side of the pump. That is going to run to your rear nozzle. So what we want to have on there is when we're running that at full speed with the engine, we're going to have a little over 100 gallons a minute coming out of that rear nozzle. 100 gallons a minute, what we found over the years of kind of trial and error is really that's enough water to supply to keep things at a certain moisture, what we like to see in the arenas or wetting down a road or whatever we may be doing. You can adjust that more or less with the rear nozzle as well on the valve and also the engine RPM. If you are in a wetter condition, you don't need as much water. So certain criteria may be met on kind of what your conditions are, which you really need to go into kind of looking at before you start these up. But what we like to see is 100 gallons a minute when you're kind of at a drier condition. So from there, obviously when we turn it on, that's going to run a rear discharge nozzle. And then to turn it off, we just hit our off button, and 1 second later we're off. What that's going to do is actually going to run all of our water back to our return. It alleviates a lot of pump pressure, wearing out the pump, seals, internal parts. From there, actually now we are live to our 50 foot of hose and 1 inch nozzle, so we can wet down corners, hard to reach areas, your horse trailers, anything that you may need to get into. So once we've gone over this, you kind of can understand how to use this. It's very simple. Everything that we've done here for the customers is of user friendliness, user ease. We want everything to be operated from inside of the truck, the tractor, whatever you may be hooked up to, which obviously is a great benefit, is because we can hook up to any type of vehicle without having to hook up any kind of separate wiring to a battery. It's all self-contained, which runs us into the next kind of what we did and how we built this trailer from the ground up. Is all of the plumbing. What we're using here is Schedule 80 banjo flange fittings. So for anybody that's very familiar with that, is flange fittings gives us the full effect of that pump. We're not losing any kind of restriction on the flow. The pump, I believe, is actually rated about 180 gallons a minute. So from out of there, what we're going to have is we're actually using any kind of true sweeps. We're gaining about a 15% efficiency on the pump, which in tail, once you run it through hose, is a really, really big deal. 15% efficiency loss in when using 90s elbows instead of sweeps is a really big deal. So from there, anytime you may have a problem, if you have a problem with the pump, reason being why we use flange is because a 7/16 end wrench, you can actually take every piece of that apart. So in a matter of about a couple minutes, you can take every little fitting off the top of that pump, not have to cut any pieces off, not have to redope it. Stick the gasket back on, flange clamp, and you're off and running. The other big features of this is when you are turning tight radius like we are here in the arena, there are some times where you need to make a tight turn. We keep everything inside the frame of that trailer, so the engine is mounted at a lower than the actual top, and what that allows us to do too is actually keep as low as the bottom of that trailer for suction purposes. We keep the jack inside as well, so if you do hit the tractor tire into the side of the trailer, you're not going to turn anything up. All the wiring and everything else is really kept nice and neat inside to protect the trailer and obviously anything inside. So I was continuing going on about the flange fittings. One of the biggest benefits, besides the flow obviously, is actually ease of use. Like I said, to take this off, you've got 2 clamps here, and 2 clamps in about a minute or so, you can completely take the fittings off the pump to repair it, replace the seal, impeller, whatever you may need to do. 2 minutes, you're back up and going. Put the seals back on, the gaskets and the flange clamps, and you're ready to go. Before, with previous ways of way things were plumbed, it was probably going to be a half an hour to an hour job for 2 guys to do this. So we really have kept your peace of mind at hand and made sure that if something does go wrong, that you can actually easily fix it with one size of tool, making it easier for you to operate this machine. So as we move to the rear of the trailer, a few features we want to go over is our rear nozzle. So coming off that side load valve, we're going to come back to here. This is your second way of actually adjusting your flow, is actually to open this or close this partially, fully, or completely closed to run a rear nozzle. Our rear nozzle is completely adjustable. So what that allows us to do is either shorten our fan or extend our fan. Depending on your size of arena or your road or what you may be watering down, you can adjust your flow as far as the flow going out and obviously the fan too. So two points of adjustment I want to point out. There's an adjustable clevis on the rear of here. So just a little 1/2-inch wrench, and you can adjust that. Really simple. It's 304 stainless steel, so we don't have to worry about any kind of corrosion. Anything that you're going to be putting through there is going to corrode that and adjust that nozzle up. So one of the other functions that we really like and makes this ease of use is actually our automatic float valve. So what we've got here, which is actually very simple to do, is we use a cam lock on here, so you can put this on your garden hose, and you can leave that on your garden hose, cam lock that on, turn your hydrant on, and fill that. go take your nap, go take your lunch break, whatever you want to do. Come back and it'll be full for you. It's automatically shut off, not overfill for you. The float's inside. Another feature we're going to jump to, just as right on top of the actual tank, is the lid. As simple as it may be, one reason why we put this on the rear of the trailer, on all the trailers, is to actually protect any kind of sloshing you're going to get if you do hit the brakes. If you are driving down the road, such as in our DOT approved 1010 trailer, is if you do hit the brakes, the water is actually going to go to the front, as most obviously water is going to slide forward. It's going to protect anything that's going to get water on top of it, corrosion, things of that nature. So steps are located in the rear to get up to very easily on either side to get up to your float or to inside your tank. So last thing before we move on to the other side of the trailer is what I want to explain with our rear nozzle. So our 304 stainless steel adjustable rear nozzle is the coverage. The reason why we went with a single rear nozzle on this over what we maybe used to use and then some other competitors use is a single nozzle. Whether you're using something as simple as a nozzle as this, or you're running a $300,000 self-propelled machine down a row crops, is under coverage or over coverage is just as bad as any of the other one. So with this rear single nozzle, we're going to have complete coverage over our 30-foot span, which when running this with the nozzle completely open and your engine running at full RPM, you have about approximately a 30-foot pattern. So running two nozzles, what we used to get was actually in the center between those two nozzles is too much water. So you'd have just the right amount on the outsides and you'd have a little bit too much on the inside. So we're going to a single rear nozzle, we're able to completely spread that out evenly throughout the fan. So another feature that we wanted to include on all of our trailers is the ability to use this for more than just watering an arena down, a road down. Whether you're using this to take to cattle, to your horses, hauling down the road to pastures, is actually the ability to use this trailer as an actual transfer trailer. So what we're going to do there to actually do this is we're going to take our safety lock off here, which actually this blue piece, what that does is actually keeps our locks from coming off down the road. It's a real simple feature, but what it does is allows us to keep our cam locks connected and not bounce off going down the road. So we take our safety lock off, we undo our cam locks off our 2-inch angle valve, and now what we've got actually is the ability to take that off and transfer to a water tank, a storage tank, or trough, or whatever it may be. So another feature that we wanted to be able to include to our customers is the ability to use this as a multi-use trailer. Now as we transitioned over to the passenger side of the trailer, another benefit we want to look at and feature of our trailers is on all of our drainable trailers, we're actually going to be pulling from the bottom. Like I said previously in the video here, we have a valve with a cam lock on there with another safety lock just like on the rear of the trailer. You can undo that, drain the tank completely out if you're going to be storing it for the winter or need to work on anything. From there, we're actually going to move up a little bit towards the front of the trailer with the valve that sits on the suction side of this pump. What this allows us to do is either to pull off of a stationary tank or to use our additional feature of our suction hose to run to our pond fill. So what we're going to do is actually just take our cam lock cap right off our 2-inch valve, undo that, take our hose, cam lock that back on, put our strainer basket into whatever water source you may have. So what we're going to do is we're going to step back here. We're actually going to shut the valve off the bottom of the tank, come up to here. We're going to go ahead and open this up. And from there, we're going to have our starter engine, turn our electric valve off, and keep our recirc open. What that allows us to do is now actually pull the water from our pond source or water source, wherever that may be, and fill our tank up from there. If you do have problems priming the pump, which can be an issue when you are pulling from a distance away, is to actually leave, if you do have a little bit of water in the bottom tank, leave our valve open. Make sure your line is actually full of water. Make sure, the biggest thing is to make sure that your pump is not running at full speed. As that wants to create a lot of suction, if you're pulling a lot of air at a high speed, it's not going to create that prime. So what we want to make sure to do is engine speed needs to be a little bit lower, and then go ahead and open up this valve. From there, once you get it primed up and you can feel the pull on the engine, go ahead and shut that back off and then let your pond fill from there. So after we've filled our tank up, another great benefit of all of our trailers is the ability to store this water inside the tank and not create any algae. With a UV resistant black tank, what that allows us to do is that water is sit outside and not create any algae. No UV light is going to get inside the tank, you know, to help lessen the chance of any kind of algae to grow inside there. From there, what we're actually going to have towards the front of the tank is the ability to see what our water level is. A great benefit of that obviously is when you're running it, and you do get to a certain point it is low, you don't want to run your pump dry. So that's going to give us the ability to shut that down before we do run that pump dry, lessen the chance of ruining the seal. So on the frame, I want to go over a little bit of the frame. What really makes ours stand out is from the front hitch to the rear of that trailer, we're fully supported across the whole 9 yards. Side frames, and that is a single piece channel from front to back. The additional stability is actually in our what we call our fish plate. That's just extra advantage of keeping sure to make sure that what usually is what the weakest link of those trailers is where you're in front of your axles into your hitch is where a lot of the weight gets transferred to. So what that allows us to do is sturdy that up and make sure that you're gonna have a long life for that trailer frame. For any additional information on any one of our available models from our 500 gallon all the way up to our 2,000 gallon model, please visit kiserequine.com. Please also know that we've got 4 shipping locations across the United States, from California, Kansas, Texas, and Kentucky, to service all of our customers across the United States. Thanks again, and we appreciate your business.